point that kind of I'd like to underline, and something from a UNICEF perspective that we always talk about now internally, since disability has really bubbled up to be a very high priority for UNICEF, and we have now there are certain goals that UNICEF has set for its own self internally as a workplace, inclusive workplace. But yeah, to the point that I wanted to kind of underline was that it has to be a combination of everybody around that child, and that can really create that safe space for the child to be able to, develop, come up with its best abilities. So it's not just the teacher's responsibility, it's not just the parents' responsibility, and I think parents in this case need a lot more support. Our experience in the field where we've been working in UP, in Jharkhand and Bihar, I mean, the kind of despair that parents are going through when the child is, kind of a child with disability. And one of the most heartbreaking stories that we had and our team had to face, where a child with disability fell sick, could have been easily helped through medical attention. But because there is no kind of a community or an ecosystem that's going to be there to support this child in the future, the parents are like, let the child go. Because after I go away, I don't know who's going to take care of this child. And that kind of despair and, the kind of aloneness that the family goes through in terms of bringing up this child is something that really needs to be acknowledged, because we don't have that social kind of structures that are going to be very helpful. And because we lack those social structures, issues like stigma, discrimination, violence against children with disabilities, and therefore leading to low identification of children with disabilities. I was just looking at data today morning for this discussion, and in our preschools, of the total children enrolled, it's only 0.3% children with disabilities who are enrolled in preschools. The Poshan Tracker does not capture information about children with disabilities. I was looking at the module that we have there, and it only captures data on how many children attend preschool for 15 days, how many children attend preschool for 21 days. And then you don't have any disaggregation. So if we are not even looking at the scale of the problem, we're not going to start thinking about it also. And maybe there are some, I was just thinking when Saurabh and Dheer was speaking, that are there some lessons that we need to think, that how did foundational learning become such a big issue? Are there some lessons to be learned from there in order to make this such an issue so central to everything? Because Saurabh was right, from DPEP time we've been having inclusive education, money is being put aside for that. Even now under Samagra Shiksha, the norms have been revised, there are more funds that are going in, but we're still just scratching the surface of this problem.
And UNICEF works.
We have to find those steps to get to that intent. And again, there are lots of guidelines, apps. The Prashast app has been created, but that Prashast app, do teachers actually know how to use the Prashast app? For every child, the teacher has to fill up a questionnaire of 47 items. Now imagine a classroom where the teacher is dealing with, say, 50, 60, 70 children. There's no way. And the Prashast app has 3 tiered stages. First the teacher fills, then the resource person fills, then the child is sent for a referral. Which teacher has the time to do it? So I think we have to convert all of these things into those micro steps, because when we think of the kind of the big picture stuff, but we are having a lot of chat. Right now we're working with 800 resource teachers in Bihar, and we are building capacity, we're doing workshops with them, and asking them to engage with parents. Right? Nobody's ever had a discussion with these teachers on that the number of disabilities has increased from 7 to 21, and thalassemia is a disability? No, it's a blood disorder. So there's no conversation actually happening, and like what Dheer also said, that if disability is being discussed as one half-an-hour session or a 2-hour session as part of a teacher training program, then we're not doing justice to it. So we really, we have these resources. I mean, there are these resource teachers in every state. Block level, there are these resource centers. We probably need to sit down and do some kind of visioning exercise with the Samudra teams to say, what is your vision? What do you want to see change? How would this happen in a classroom? And I just, another conversation that we just had within UNICEF on inclusion, and we were looking at different models where it's exclusion, then segregation, then another level. Maybe we need to, like how gender has its markers and there is a whole pathway to becoming gender transformative, I think we need to have a pathway for becoming fully inclusive. And everybody will go that step by step to become inclusive. Because think of a teacher, it is very difficult when she has children with varying learning levels in the classroom, different abilities in the classroom, to be able to teach. I was in a special school in a district, Shimoga in Karnataka. This is a government school. This teacher runs a special school. And parents from all over Karnataka, they come, they take houses on rent in this village because they want their child to go to this particular school. Each child is accompanied by a parent, but it was mostly the mothers, fathers were not there. And this person had created an environment at that school so he had a whole scheme of things, how he used to do them independently mobile. They should be able to start walking themselves. And that's the first step that he's getting them to do. So you have to really find that small step. And he's teaching the parent what to do with the child. He's supervising the parent, how they're doing it with the child, and then getting the child, Another program that I visited, which was a program for children who are blind. And again, the micro step that they figured out, they're mainstreaming these children to regular schools, but they're preparing these blind children as to what are they going to encounter in this mainstream school and what do they need to be prepared for. So the one thing that they focused on is your sense of direction, your right and your left, your front and the back. So there are these really micro steps that need to be identified if we really need to get to that larger vision of NEP in terms of, in being truly inclusive. The points that have actually, some of the points that have come up, I think one area that we all need to work together towards is this whole issue of stigma and discrimination. How do we work at that behavior change where we make it normal for being accepting diversity around us? I mean, I think that's becoming, diversity seems to be the word that we really are not kind of looking at. The other point that I feel that is very important is to have a comprehensive community care kind of framework so that it's not the family alone that has to deal with a child who has disabilities. That social fabric is very much needed. We need those support services. Of course, assistive technology, since we have all, and I met this young 29-year-old blind person, Krishan. He works with Microsoft. He is now informing Microsoft about how any new software that they create, they need to make sure it's inclusive. It's, talking to him just blows your mind off. Unfortunately, we couldn't get him for this program. I was very strongly recommending that he should really be here and talking to all of us. And I think the stigma and discrimination can be really addressed if we find ways of ensuring meaningful participation of people with disabilities. The more we see meaningful participation and not symbolic participation, I think this issue of stigma and discrimination may be, addressed to some extent. And the last thing that I want to say, we've been talking about equity. We put that up as one of our important pillars. I would take it a step forward, and I think it's a matter of justice. And somebody shared this really beautiful slide recently on one of our internal webinars, because there's a lot that's happening on disability awareness within UNICEF right now. You all seen that picture of 3 people standing outside a fence and watching a match, where it's equal boxes for everybody, and then the equity is when the shortest person gets the maximum boxes. But the justice is remove that fence, and we have to figure out how we remove that fence, because so that these boxes are not even required, and it becomes normal for everyone. That is the normal that